own this space unto themselves, and they have those death boxes at their disposal to prepare for this final 3 back and forth. All teams full, and all teams giving themselves the reset here before the last shrink comes in. It'll be interesting to see which team makes the first move.
If ESG can push ANC out of this choke in to the other side of at least go next here, that would give them their success. But it's going to come down to, well, how much ANC are actually looking to win this one out. They know their backs are against the wall, and the call for second is always available.
ANC outplayed right now. Set themselves up comfortably with those fences, making it so that nobody really wants to push in on them just yet. But as they have to make the choice to move in, they're the ones that are on the farthest portion of the zone. They're going to have to be pushed in first, move past these fences, and you know that these teams have ANC outplayed in their line of sight. ESG moved up. They get a little bit of a rock here for cover, trying to do some damage. Go next, though, still safe in their original position, and this is going to be down to go next.
It's a great move in here as ESG are able to capitalize and send ANC outplay home, but the reset needs to come just as quickly from above. Kashi takes advantage, takes L-Stars, and puts Go Next in the driver's seat for the second win of the day.
Go Next did such a good job there. Like I said, they were holding that air for a little bit. Forge had moved in, and they quietly removed Forge from that area, knowing that it was going to be from. It was so well strategized on behalf of Go Next. I mean, that was a strong performance.
The crazy thing too is when we talk about the minor silo cover that they have in play there, they actually lose that fashion. So the damage that they throw onto ANC outplay there in this kind of tug of war battle between them inside on the other side allows them to actually deliver on that win in the end. Had they not been able to put out the pressure, put out the poke, ANC would have maybe potentially walked on them instead.
Yeah, that was a really strong performance on behalf of a lot of teams. I mean, to be fair, we still saw Cybercats finding themselves really far along in that game. Talk about a resurgence out of LCDF. I mean, they wanted that after match number 1 not really going their way. Even E6. Pull it coming in strong there. I mean, they were slaying when every time we jumped in on their fights. That was just an unfortunate situation when it came to Vex. That was the third party they couldn't do a whole lot about, but they had played really flawlessly up until that point, going for a lot of those kills on the edge of the zone as opposed to trying to move in and hold the position once they realized just how many teams had already managed to get in there. So lots of teams making improvements just from one match to the next.
Exactly, and especially when we talk about improvements in terms of zone play, teams like 2R1C, we know for a fact that they're going to be there, but especially for a squad like TSM Phoenix, who were discussing some of the difficulties, or at least what we got to see from that first game, immediately making the turnaround into a position of play with a zone that is arguably just as close as what we saw from game 1 there. And even though they lose out on Alpha a little bit early on, they were still in the midst of those fights. They were the ones participating in bringing Vex down. We saw those at least early exchanges.
And then, I mean, we're going to even earlier exchanges. We were asking, would some of those contests stop? Some did, some did not. Okay, we saw both Passion and Forge surviving their contest, but we saw that Red Dragon struggled a little bit. LCDF moved over to the wall to try and jump in on some of that action with Made in Heaven, and I think Full English went out in their contest too, if I'm not mistaken. So we saw a little bit of changes to that super early game when it comes to those drops. Some teams opting to play a little bit safer and not want to have to go for that fight. So we'll see what happens now in the third and final match on Storm Point. It'll be interesting to see if we continue to see those small changes being made.
As I said, the wall is definitely the place to look at more than anything. We know that we're going to see ASG and the Fall English continue contest for Zeus, but especially with LCDF now kind of as this third potential threat to get involved, that can always stir up the action between Made in Heaven and Red Dragon.
All right, well, let's see what the final numbers ended up being. Who had the kills? And Go Next with 10 kills, followed by ESG at 13. These two teams were slaying out Zephyr.
It is a solid start. One that you typically don't see, but one that pulls the points away from the rest of the lobby there. Cybercats, the only other squad to walk away with a double-digit scoreline. Everyone else, even though we haven't seen the second half, I assume to be low on the single digits.
I mean, this is just a classic point sponge. Everything is at the top. The fact that they tied first and second when it comes to those total points at 22, that is a strong performance. And oh, no, we were wrong, Zephyr, because it was LCDF and E6. We talked about their aggression. It might not have paid off in placement points, which is something we talked about with LCDF even at the top of the show, but the slaying power actually helped them a lot here when it comes to those points.
And I love being the broken record of repeating what my main man Rain Day loves to say, but if you're hitting that 8-point average, that's the place to be. It doesn't matter how you do it. For a team like LCDF and even Element 6, who we're still looking to see them shore up what we know can be a great day, this is definitely a better result coming out of our second game here.
Man, that was a fun one. We'll take a look at a little bit of a team comparison here between GoNext and ESG because of just how strong this match was for both of them. 4,600 damage out of ESG. I mean, that is a fantastic second place finish if I've ever seen one, Zephyr.
I think really taking advantage of that slow rotation up, of course, over onto the edge of 202 and capitalizing in full force, but then not getting ahead of themselves, not getting into the buildings of action, really trying to play ahead into that sixth and final zone and eliminating squads like UA and assisting in the ends of teams like Cybercats, allow them to put up that additional 1,300 damage on the board.
I also love what we're seeing out of GoNext because it proves that they didn't just early rotate and then do nothing holding that spot. They fought their way through in their rotation. They did really well in the mid-game, and then were able to clean up those squads there at the end. As we now get a look here at our overall series results, we can see where everyone is standing. Cybercats up at the top by 3 points. They've just looked so consistent so far today.
It's a solid start, but it is one that we put with a tick regarding the southern presence of our zones. I'm still looking to test this roster. Speaking of tests, though, definitely a challenge for teams like Aurora, 2R1C, Element 6, who in the past, and even 07, who have been consistently above the pack when we see them match up in these lobbies.
It'll be interesting to see what our teams do as we continue on throughout the match day here so far, but we've got to talk about something, okay? And we're going to keep talking about it all day because season 20 is right around the corner, and everything you thought you knew, well, it might be different, whether it's competing in an updated rank system that is in combat or playing in mixtape and making your debut in Thunderdome. Season 20 will have you instantly queuing up for the next game. The new LTM Straight Shot will drop you into an even quicker Battle Royale experience, all while you earn the new reactive R99 skin and more with the Battle Pass. So gear up and flex your style, legend. The world is watching.
Being a legend, it ain't just about winning, mate. It's an attitude you show up with. And every bloody drop.
What a rush! I leveled up? Hell yeah!
Dragon, mate. So however you used to drop. Hardly a challenge. It's time to drop a little hopper.
The game's changing, mate. Look, a lot of things are changing. Not only the entirety of the perk system all along the side of the Evo Shield changes, but man, do we have some really cool rewards for you for the 5th anniversary of Apex. Because where were you 5 years ago when Apex dropped? It's not just like consistently grinding in those lobbies. It has been a journey. And even those skins, the colored skins for the anniversary collection, had that teal, the black, it all looks clean. But let's talk about this here, Zephyr, because you can earn breakout rewards when 6 legends become unlocked during the season. Now, granted, if you're a grinder, you've probably already got them unlocked, but maybe convince your friends to drop in for the first time, because you can complete challenges to keep them forever as you work towards even more rewards, like a reactive flatline, which boasts the same iron sights as the Season 4 flatline that we all know and love. You can even get a legendary Wraith skin and a set of matching cosmetic trackers. But Zephyr, anything that you're specifically keeping your eye on when it comes to the anniversary or even the Legend Select here for Map 3?
I'll tell you what, I love the fact that Respawn worked with the creators, especially to bring in some incredible skins from, you know, Vicky Palami, sorry.
I got you, Vicky Palami.
Thank you. To Girl and Shiv, as well as even our friend Rain Day, who gets to have
Rain Day's got an R9
skin. I genuinely, I cannot wait to get my hands specifically on those, because those are the creators I love, and they love the game just as much as I do.
It's really cool how we are giving so much back to the community, because the community has really given us so much in the Apex comp scene, whether they're at home, working on the power rankings, grinding through VOD reviews over on Twitch, the watch parties alone. Lock it all in as one cohesive community, because it's our final match on Stormpoint, and if we get that North Pad zone, Zephyr, I will cry.
I don't think it'll happen this time around, but granted, you have some kind of mysticism that you potentially found your way to during the break. Forge, hopefully they found their way to some better loot and some better action here. 30-30 in hand, a couple of hip-fire shots as Mavericks and Slayers have already delivered double drops on their end.
Well, there you go. Passion eliminated, and the Forge will emerge victorious from Cascades. And, you know, I did light a little bit of a manifestation candle, but will Full English be able to survive in Zeus? Because Light still alive and blasts 1 HP in a dream. Can't make it happen, though, because Noise has got the Nemesis, and he just had the better of the weapons. But for Light, who has had such a standout performance thus far on this match day, you have to disengage. You can craft accordingly. You have Conduit, the support legend, and you need to focus on the series as a whole. But for Full English, they'll actually get to play.
I do like the fact that ESG take a step away from this exchange. Something to note, though, is that Red Dragon have officially given it up there. Not directly against Maiden, having to start things out more upwards towards some of our no-name endings of the wall and potentially into the Full English. Now, Tiff.
Zephyr.
I know.
Zephyr.
I know. You are a sorceress. You are a wizard. You are something above.
Do we really get a North Pad? No, I'm not gonna cry, but for real, LCDF, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm the real scriptwriter here.
That is genuinely terrifying. I remind the folks at home that these are randomly generated.
The RNG is real, and Red Dragon alive. All 3 of them.
This is crazy.
And they're towards Zeus.
Rat Dragon.
Could get interesting. We love that voice line there from Horizon. Perfect.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait for the Full English to rotate east.
I mean, we do have the triple white from the Red Dragon here. Now, there is something to be said about this squad. I think the mechanics from Kazakh are so incredible. Just watching, Dude will put up an absolute montage on their own. But for the entire trio, I think there's going to be a lot of work, but a little bit of ratting goes a long way, and the Red Dragon team ensues. Kazakh goes down first, 50
posting an excellent off-angle due to just current positioning, is able to capitalize on Red Dragon almost immediately. On top of the fact that, yes, sitting on triple napkins is always, you know, where the place to be.
Yeah, it's not really I was hyping up Kazak's kind of just ability for the mechanics, and of course they're the first one to go down, but that's just because caster curses are inevitable at this point in time. If you're talking kindly about a team and hyping them up, chances are they're gonna fall. And, well, 2 of the Red Dragon members still alive, and turning our tides over to Go Next, currently in second, 8 points, 32 points just from the first 2 maps. Position themselves down in the red room as a lot of teams are starting to get the understanding and the knowledge that we are moving into.
Now, a big notable here is for Go Next. This is the shortest rotation they've ever actually had to make today. Coming out of the middle, they're able to get into this position relatively early. They don't beat ANC, who is just above them, to that high ground that can be so advantageous on at least the platform. But still, Red Room can be just as good. Granted, and choke itself out if it is not privy to the pull here. Granted, I'm starting to see a little bit more of a western take here. Watch out for that peninsula where we stand. No one can play it early, but granted, kind of making that rotation can be a challenge.
Ooh, yeah. Especially the areas around down east, kind of where the tail is. That's where we see a lot of people get choked up on. So I think it's a good shout that it's not one of those places that you can play early in the match, but for end game and maybe some of our later edge teams, it'll be a really nice slot in for them. But vying, kind of jockeying for position here into North Pad itself is going to be Made in Heaven, outplayed playing the very top, which kind of makes sense, especially if you have Watson on your roster, you throw a Jenny up, but for Made in Heaven, they slipped a little bit after map number 2, and they need to get more points. So moving straight into Go Next, already eliminating them. But here comes a third party, because you know LCDF is going to take some angles on this.
Yeah, for LCDF, it's far from the difference of what we've seen from them, at least in Game 2, getting into the action against Made in Heaven last time around, but that fight maybe not as quick or advantageous. So, going to be pulling back Psychop, especially sitting on literally just 1 there. Extend for a full Medi and potentially 07. I do want to point this out, though, that ANC outplayed have not moved at all. In fact, they're almost, I hesitate to say it, they might be ratting the top of that platform, just waiting.
Let them rat. Let them rat. There is no way. The majority of the teams in this lobby being that heavy edge zone play style. A lot of the teams that do play zone, they would have already chose that as a position. So making your rotation in late, maybe you come in from an evac tower or whatever to try and buy for that high ground, you are not going to think that that is free. You have to be able to approach it thinking someone is up there. I don't care how good of ratting ANC outplayed is.
I'm just waiting for a transition point. I gotta get up here. Oh, you know what? Height. I'll just take height. An outplayed who assuredly doesn't even need the Evo or damage sitting on purple right now. Might just say, all right. Oh, okay.
Sure.
Sure.
Fair
freebie.
enough. Fair enough. You sure about that? Cue the comedian. We'll have so many teams going through.
John Cena?
What?
The comedian?
Excuse me? Nah, I can't think of his name, but I saw his Netflix series with a bunch of skits, and I want to see it stand up live, so one day. But for 40% worse, Mandy here on the Pathfinder, taking a journey out towards Zeus. It looks like he's hunting. And if you're hunting light, I completely understand, because why not, Mandy? Why not?
Taking some time over on the edge. Might be looking for some craft more than importantly than anything. Probably one of the last ones to get in. Granted, sitting on 4 bats, 15 cells, a Medi, and a syringe. I mean, don't need it. Granted, I don't think light is the prime factor of what they might be here.
Ooh, light just curious to see. No, not going to take the jump tower. Wants to go a little bit by foot, but we already have the inventory here for 40% worse. They get the crafter. You can see the crafting rotations thanks to our beautiful team of production back in the back. You still have that energy mag, the laser sight, the purple bag and helmet. So overall, a lot of people picking up that Volt want that energy mag. You can see Mandy already has it, grabs that backpack, and always protects the head, right? We know a lot of people love to use 30-30 and wingmans everywhere. But protect the helm as much as possible.
We'll take a look at zone here just to catch the tail end of ESG back on over to the wall where they'll meet their previous aggressors, the Foliage and Red Dragon. Yet to move on. Our zone, though, most notably hosted with 2R1C, one of the first times we actually haven't seen him gotten into a great position deep in, but granted, still very good for playing on the outside of the stack. E6, getting aggressive.
Hey, they need to, right? This is the match day where they always have to, like, really step up because they've been so dominant on their other showings. Meanwhile, 07 takes out Vex. But it doesn't seem like this will actually occur. Element 6 still focusing on getting towards that next zone. They do have to go through a choke point here, and it looks like they might run into some other squads. For now, full English, they're still heading.
Full recovery, English stunted with a rolling thunder to prevent a lot of what they want to do. Instead, contesting for height above with a great grab lift. Love the repositioning there, but a building is just as good to defend against the height. Something with a roof to be had actually on the northern side of the map.
Of the essence with that ring steadily closing in on them. It'll be here before you know it, so I hope this engagement lasts no more than 30 seconds. Noises just acquiring the squad, waiting for the drop. Baka, though, with the reinforced door. Gonna play alongside of it. I love how the team 202 is kind of spread out, trying to hold the cross angles, and Bryn steadily but surely breaking in with a digi threat through the smoke. You're able to get a good bit of entry damage through, and we just barricade on it. Full English with already getting their first knock, turning the tides in this engagement.
From behind the pillar, Bryn is able to take advantage of the 30-30s ADS, but noises and Surdell where key. Zone, you can hear it hovering on the outside, the loud of it as it crosses through here. The English, they'll take advantage of the resources that they find to make sure that they stay healthy. With even Red Dragon, double white on blue, looking to see if they can maybe get some...
Are they gonna try this again?
This
Same
is
squad,
crazy.
the same ratting.
Oh, they give themselves away.
Oh, here we go. You grab blue, you throw the black hole, and you focus on the rotate. This is the biggest game of cat and mouse that I have ever witnessed.
That is absolutely absurd there. For Red Dragon, they will get into the southern side of our choke and hopefully will find themselves a place. Curious to see who's actually covering one of those chokes. As for a team like Red Dragon, seeing as low health as they are, I don't think survivability is something that they have in their wheelhouse. For Light, though, it seems to be something that he has learned very well.
Yo, Light is 6 bullets in a 30-30, 2 shield cells, White just out there between a rock and a hard place with the zone at their back, just trying to stay alive, you know?
There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Granted, this is not a tunnel, it's a fissure, and it's one that LCDF seemed to be barreling towards at lightning speed.
Bro, mind here, closing the distance. I don't even think they know Light is here, but Dolgarin inside Beast of the Hunt. If they even get a whiff of the Bangalore on there. But for now, still shooting all the flatline bullets and none of them connecting, but it was a really solid effort.
Good tries for ESG's Light. He will find himself a bit of a pineapple and what looks to be covered for now, but this is just as far, if not further, from where he needs to go. No heals, I assume, either. I'm going to make a bet that there are 0 syringes for this man.
If only this was season 20 and you could just pop a smoke and start healing. But alas, we wait till post-February 13th. Full English, lose out on noises, but the Radiant transfer does come through, so for the next few seconds, they will have some shields. Just kidding, we're getting finished here. But Noise is still able to call out for the squad as ANC Outplayed is just ahead of them.
Now we'll take down a double on Red Dragon here, even with the extension of the large spit with Bitu, now the only remaining member. Barely does Dell miss out on some knock drop damage here, as the English rotating around the other side of this building should be able to potentially find Bitu, and even if they do not, we'll be able to gatekeep this rotation. Surdell, especially, really biding his time.
Ah, yes, good comms. This was Red Dragon, and now they're eliminated, so we can set our sights knowing safely that ANC Outplayed is still deep into North Pad, but that coveted engagement between the Full English and Red Dragon has finally ended. Element 6, though, still southern side of the zone, keeping their eyes towards this gazebo here, nearby trenches. They're controlling a lot of space and sitting on triple red here. but we need to find a good bit of eliminations to really get them into the fray.
Cracked. Peek on the outskirts there, barely doesn't check the corner and run into what could have been potentially a punishing end. And instead, for Element 6, this is something that could come back to bite them. Granted, shots potentially giving away the fact that there is a squad behind them. They make for immediate rotations at the thankful action of TSM Phoenix. Had that not come through, they would have never known.
Very true, but regardless, Full English was able to get points on the board. In the upper left hand of your screen, you'll see where that zone is pulling and who it favors. LCDF playing outside on that further westernmost finger towards the edge, kind of barricaded around the supply bins. So a really solid position for them. But for Passion UA, they've also made a move to play in the center of those extensions. So curious to see how our teams that have not made it deep into North Pad will hit that rotation, and while Element 6 clearing out through the trenches.
Taking their time there, might be on the rotate to find Aurora potentially alongside them. My apologies, for 40% worse over here on the side. We're able to find a bit of damage down onto ANC, but they themselves taking just as much in return from low ground presence. Need to find a way to access the POI itself without getting shot from above, and the same can be said for TSM Phoenix.
TSM Phoenix sabs down Kyrie, trying to stay alive, and now the lone standing alpha. We've seen this before. We knew it was going to be tough to play down here, and they were trying to make it work. But the disengage, the double time, the Phoenix hit will never come through, but TSM Phoenix will be eliminated. We turn our attention towards 40% worse, losing out on Shiv and Zeri and Mandy. Just cannot find a good position because there are so many squads making their way in that they are constantly being pressured.
Zerfer almost brought down by the knuckle cluster from Cyber above here, able to find the incredibly slowest of heals, but granted, not much of a health to work on in regards. And Heaven below just as well as E6, as we tune back into them, losing out on Cracked as a result.
CJ down and out, and there's going to be no chance to get him back. I look towards to see if we have any Mobies, but it's not going to be there. Cybercats, though, having a strong performance and remain up top. 40% worse will fall. We knew that was going to happen because they were just in such dire needs as Aurora has moved in towards the peninsula you were mentioning earlier.
Cyber got to be careful here. They themselves poke as they make their return on the outskirts. Instead, have to clean up Maidenhead right from below, posing just as much of a threat, but damage down and a knuckle cluster to zone things out. Cyber get the chance to reset after successful fighting. Yolu low with the response from Sokka to keep things alive, but another arc and another nade only goes to show how much Hughes makes his impact, but they luckily spot the drop of Alonzi from behind. A blink and you miss it move.
Still need plenty of time here. We still have to get a reset, but a reset might not happen. Dolgren, last standing, pushing forward, needs to reload the R9, but looks for the shield swap, gets it. We're back to blue. We've got the reload, but not with enough time. Outplayed Shex, the nail in the coffin. And now Cybercats have plenty of time before they have to hit the ground running. We're going deep, and LCDF is waiting patiently for everyone to make a play for this next zone.
Incredible reset from Cybercats there that comes with the benefit of double squads eliminated. We know that will continue to balloon the lead. We've already seen potentially continue to put them in a driving gap, maybe a first place. We've got World's Edge, but Stormpoint has made it look so. E6 here, 9 squads remain, and finally taking it up to the ground above.
Ooh, Aurora walk in for free, and Element 6 begin with K-Swinny and a swing, and Cybercats are gone into the top 8, and well-needed eliminations for K-Swinny. Cracked back up, jumps up, and immediately just starts sending it. Now Slab, last standing in the zone. Of course, you're going to fall for that, but Aurora getting into the mix and just eating apart outplayed for 2R1C and the lone standing Light. This could be the last stand for them. I can't even believe Light's still alive as Passion UA down and out. Light gets found. We're into the final 4.
Aurora here on the outskirts, LCDF across from them. A major exchange of batteries before what can be some of these final fights as you show that Aurora are in more then good health here. Bit of refreshing rolling thunder, but Forge, 2R1C, Aurora, all coming from the exact same side of zone here. 2R1C might be looking to finish off Forge before they even get the chance to play.
Here it goes. We want to get into the final three. Even 9 Impulse kind of extending out, looking for a piece of it, but it's all going to Mycee. Forge eliminated, but the duo of 2R1C now has to use the cover of this Dark Veil to reset, but not before 9 Impulse is able to deal a significant amount of damage, but it doesn't even matter. Everyone is bleeding apart. 2R1C fall, and the final engagement between LCDF and Aurora ensue. The grab lift for Zedon to finish the nail in the coffin, and LCDF, their home of Northpad, they take your win in Map 3.
We talked about it earlier, able to win from the POI you call home. For LCDF, they have had to deal with not just today's polls, but even the previous. Finally getting the opportunity after a beautiful spell was casted by Tiffany to put them in Northpad. They pick up the win, but so well deserved.
I'm officially taking offers for the North American broadcast later. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Totally
How
not.
much?
That would be hilarious. I did light a candle, though. And I do have a beautiful candle. It's a manifestation candle, but we'll talk more on that later because I digress. LCDF winning their home zone. Beautifully done. My only question is, because they were able to maintain so much space away from all of the teams that were kind of from the actual compound of Northpad itself, how many eliminations were they able to grab? You know, because it just looked like it might have been anywhere from 3 to 5.
And to be honest, the same can really be said for the majority of those teams there, not just even LCDF, 2R1C going into Aurora as well here. While yes, they were present into some of our higher placements, in terms of the actual gatekeeping and showing presence regarding this game, it wasn't until the very, very end that we saw those fights. I look more towards having Red Dragon over on the edge, the full English who made their return, who were picking up KP.
Well, let's see it. LCDF, 3 eliminations and 12 placement points for a 15-point game. Now, granted, I know they're working on the placement points. They already have the eliminations down, but we're moving in the right direction. From Aurora, from Cenote Caves to Northpad, they were able to grab 5 eliminations for a 14-point game, and 2R1C, another solid performance for them.
Down as we scroll there, Element 6 with 8 KP themselves, with the high presence of Edge really rearing its head. Cybercats do falter a little bit as they don't make that exchange, but there it is. I talked about as we came off the full English, really showing their tempo here, catering to the teams on their slow rotates.
Overall, very solid performance, and despite Red Dragon being a little, I almost want to call it petty, the way they were kind of trying to open up the door for an engagement throughout that map, only able to walk away with 1 elimination for a total of 2 points. But for Passion, Go Next, even Go Next in particular, that needed to kind of bounce back off the win prior, that 22-point game. We'll have to go next and see what they do on World's Edge. But for the time being, I want to welcome back Glitter. Glitter was sitting there on the side, and we got to get our squad back for the halftime.
I mean, you said it really well, Tiff. It was the fact that LCDF said the one thing they wanted to focus on was nailing down those placement points. An opportunity was given to them with a zone that favors their drop, and they do exactly that. They might not have had the KP that we've seen them get in, you know, games past, but it's about, you know, finding those small ones you can and starting to kind of mesh both of those playstyles together so they can figure out how to make it work at all times. But like you said, it is our halftime show, and this is one of my favorite parts because that means we get to bring in a guest. Today, we have the man himself. We have Kashera ready to hang out with us, talk through some gameplay. Kashera, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Okay. All right. To kick things off, I've got a question for you because we've been talking about it a lot. Obviously, we keep seeing all of these trailers. I want to get your thoughts on Season 20. Obviously, we don't know anything concrete yet, right, until the season releases, but I want to get some maybe predictions on how you think that it could potentially change the competitive meta.
Well, the entire game is going to change. I'm very excited. It seems like the game is going in the right direction. I feel like it's one of those moments that an actual gameplay change is going to happen, and I'm very excited. All these changes are gonna be both to competitive or casual. with a lot of leaks, a lot of videos that were already put on YouTube. We were already able to study a bit, to think, to have different ideas on how we want to approach this new season. But at the end of the day, until we actually play, until we actually have those scrims and see how it all plays out, we can't really know for sure how it's gonna be.
I mean, good vibes, right? I love that you kind of have already said that you're looking to theory craft. And we all know you love crypto. You've had a lot of really solid moments on crypto throughout, I believe, the past couple splits. And now that the EMP is getting bigger, right? Are we going to see a return to CORSAIR on crypto?
I'm definitely gonna try. It all depends on how the game itself plays out. I think there's a lot of potential on crypto. I think there's a lot of potential in other characters. And it all depends on how teams approach the game, I guess. I feel like the most dominant teams are gonna maybe stick to the same game plans, but I think if teams want to try new things, now is the time.
Okay, so when you say new things, what in particular are you looking at? If you had to name your ideal comp, regardless of scrims right now, what would you send out?
I don't think I want to. I want to keep it for myself.
All right. I mean, that's respectable. We don't want to give anyone some ideas.
I think everyone will have their own ideas, but I think it's gonna be exciting, and that's about it. Even now, if we have some ideas, it maybe not even gonna translate to the actual gameplay. So I guess we have to wait. We have to test. It's gonna be fun, and yeah, I can't wait.
I know you're holding back quite a bit here. Just from the smile alone, you're thinking quite a bit about that Season 20 change. I know for the rest of Amakere, you guys have found quite an extension as well. But I want to hear you think about something else. Let's take a look at some of these final circles from today here, starting off with the win from Cybercats. Give me your IGL, your intake regarding this end zone.
As an IGL, it's a bit hard to know what Cybercats has in their mind, like throughout the game. They just dominated the entire space from eco. They knew the zone was gonna end up being in this place, and I guess like this was a huge mistake from Go Next, being cut out here off position. If they were able to put this wall and let the game play out, I think OP was going to be forced to fight against Cats, and maybe they could have taken the win. But yeah, OP knew that they didn't have the control of the situation. They had to send it on the 3v2, and Cats was just able to position themselves in a way that they just dominated the entire time. Like, they knew what they had to do. They were in control of the entire end zone, and they end up winning with almost no effort, only putting their abilities on and just wiping the entire squads.
Of course.
Here on game 2,
and then
ESG did a huge game.
Sure.
Did a huge game. ESG, they fight very, very hard. Same situation on ANC. They had no control of the situation. They couldn't do much. They just had to send it somewhere. They decided to send it to ESG, and they ended up giving the free win to Go Next. Yeah, both times it was a bit rough because ANC actually is playing really well today. They're finding themselves really good positions. But at the end of the day, those last circles, sometimes you just can't do much. And they ended up having to just full sand with not much cover, already very weak. It was just rough for them.
Do you think there was anything that could have been done on the outside from ESG here to pressure outplayed off of them?
Maybe they could put a little bit more pressure, trying to push them into Go Next. But I think Go Next just does the same on the other side, and ANC at the end of the day they just have to send it somewhere. I don't think ESG could have done much. They didn't indeed got any of the kills. They did almost all the work. But at the end of the day, they have to take it. It was a huge game for them, and a second place.
And then, of course, as we kind of jump on over here to this finish with LCDF on the leg here, is there any way that any of these teams can stop this push from coming through?
From LCDF, I don't think so. Like, they had such a big advantage on their positioning. Maybe Aurora could have played to get that #1 spot, but I think they played correctly. They played for the points. They saw the fight of 2R1C and Forge on the side. They knew that they could win that easily and they could get the second place. So they just took it. They just took the points that they knew they had. They prefer not to risk it. They are in a good position in Pro League, so they don't really have to do that. And yeah, LCDF, they just had to control the game. They just had to make sure that nobody griefed their game. Nobody just sent it for free on that backside. And they just took all the points, all the kills. In the end.
Yeah, and then unable to really come out on top here for Auroras. With the damage in tow, it's a quick cleanup from LCDF.
Yeah, pretty much like the 3 games ended up almost the same way. Both Cats, Go Next, and now LCDF, they just had everything on their side and they just took it. Like, these are smart teams that know to read what's in front of them. And yeah, if you give them the opportunity, they're just gonna take it.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Kashira, we also get an opportunity to look at the series results after that last match, where everybody sits. Like you said, Cybercat's doing really well for themselves. Even further in first place now after match number 3 for a total of 42 points. Moving on down though, a few standouts on both sides of things. Obviously, Forge and 2R1C in 8th and 9th respectively, mostly because of their consistency with replacement points. And then on the flip side, we see the slaying power of E6 here. Kashira, do you have any thoughts on any of those teams?
I feel like E6 wanted to do more. They know that they're gonna have now the contest against LCDF, and that's gonna be tough, both for LCDF and E6. So both teams are already thinking, maybe we should have done more in this map. But yeah, it has been like an amazing 3 matches. I'm really happy to see ESG and Go Next on top. ANC, which is a team that is very underrated. They have been playing such good Apex, and they showed it. They won on the end games in every single game. Even though in this last one they died like top 6 or something like that. But all the teams that are playing top 4, top 5, they have been so consistent on their positioning. Brilliant rotates. They fight it. Even though they might have 3 games in the end, they had to fight to be on that position. They had to play the game correctly, and they did. And yeah, I feel like teams, for example, Go Next and ESG, that they really need a good day today. Showing up in these turn points, it leaves a lot of doors open for World's Edge.
Now, I know you mentioned ANC outplayed as a team that you think is a little bit underrated, but now that we're kind of at the halfway point, obviously, for the season, are there any other teams that have stood out to you or surprised you so far in EMEA?
I guess today also a Made in Heaven, which is a weird team to look at, because you never know what's gonna come out of there. Like, I still don't understand how they play the game the way they play, but it works out for them. And yeah, it has been quite a sight to see. I think like the top teams are not surprising. Like the top 5 of Pro League, it's the teams that have the most knowledge, the most experience. They know how to take advantage of others, and they are showing that consistency day in, day out. Other than that, maybe surprising, it's more the teams that are not performing as well. That, for example, ESG and Go Next. I really felt that Go Next, until the start of Pro League, they really had a shot to be one of those top contenders. ESG showed a lot of promise as well. Yeah, like Pro League is not 1 match day or 2, it's an entire 7 if you reach finals, and there's still a lot of points to be earned, and let's see if things shake up until the end.
I love it. I love it. Well, Kashira, thank you very much for coming on and chatting with us. Can't wait to see you in your next play.
Yeah. Thank you for the invite. Good luck on the rest of the broadcast, and I wish everyone to have fun on the next games.
All right, always love getting an opportunity to talk to some of our players, but it's not just the ALGS that has been running these last few weeks, but our Challenger Circuit has started as well. Challenger Circuit number 1 has concluded, and congratulations to NPC who won that first Challenger Circuit. All right, we've got Nicola flies Horizon and Robin coming through in the first CC, trying to break into our ALGS here. I mean, Zephyr, you love to see it.
I was going to say, I actually got to cast that matchup there, and we got to see MPC deliver probably one of the most dominant games I've ever seen out of them, finishing the day with 101 points here. So for those of you who want to potentially be a challenger, we've got the second one coming up here March 2nd through 24th. And of course, you've still got 2 weeks to sign up and get a chance to compete and maybe find your way into probing.
All right, thank you very much, Zephyr, which means as we look towards World's Edge, it's time to send you on break, sir. A very well-deserved break, so we'll see you back here in just a little bit. Say bye to you for now. And, Tiff, it's time for us to switch our focus. We're switching up maps. We're going on to World's Edge. We saw lots of teams show up on Storm Point. Are they going to be able to bring it together?
I can only hope, right? And especially with bringing in CORSAIR, he's like, the main question was the LCDF element. Did we do enough on Storm to be able to withhold and be consistent throughout the rest of this series? So, of course, we've got our eyes onto Skyhook. I don't know if we'll actually see them directly contesting because we've seen that throughout scrims, and it has just been one of the most, it's brutal, a good phrase to put it. It's been a lot of heat, a lot of passion in that contest, let me tell you that much.
Oh, you didn't have the footwork in at the end? No energy?
No footwork. I mean, look, if this green screen were larger, I would get up and I would just be like, show them, I have no footwork, let's be real. But for our map rotation, we can see the winners. Cybercats map number 1, go next match number 2, and then LCDF in their home ending of Northpad be able to take that victory. But for our first map in World's Edge, we have to start thinking, what do our drops look like, our historic rings, because it really tells us a story here. And as you see, we've been seeing that zone ending a lot up towards Monument. We got it on match day 1. I've seen it a ton in scrims. We even got it another time in match day 3. And even the Skyhook ending we saw the last time groups A and C, that was the map 3, and I manifested that one.
You
so
did.
Glitter, maybe you can manifest some more, right?
I don't know if I have your power. I might have to rely on you for that one and also get the lottery numbers at the same time, but I'm keeping my eyes on some of those other zones. We even heard Kashera call them out. ESG, a team that he was impressed with here today, and they are down there where 2 of those zones finished last time. These 2 groups faced off against each other, so that could potentially bode well for them if we get some more southern pulls.
And as we look at our draw spots, the contest that we've been witnessing, Cybercats and Vex over at Harvester, but now 202 has left Stats and have moved over to contest Mine at Tree, which is really interesting because then it gives ESG the ability to play launch site and zone between those 2 POIs and leave the entirety of Frag East open. So I'll be keeping an eye on specific rotations around that. Red Dragon, they go big mod. They typically grab all of the crafting materials. They'll go grab some Rampart special weapons and keep going. But now this is the prior match day zones along with the points that were accrued throughout the 3 maps on World's Edge on their last meetup for A and C. So Cybercats was able to get 34 points in 3 maps alone on World's Edge, and they are already coming in with 35 from Storm Point. So this could be a totally different story for them.
I mean, there's quite a few things I'm kind of keeping my eyes on here. First of all, we've got a few teams that were in contest on Storm Point that aren't on contest here in World Edge, so an opportunity to get some points looking at the likes of Full English or Passion. But then also, last time these 2 groups faced off, this was Ocean did really well on World Edge, and we saw that they had a ton of points in that graphic, and they struggled in our first 3 matches. So there is possibility for to kind of have a little bit of a bounce back here now that we're on World Edge.
You're right, Glitter. They had a map win in 5 and 6, but we turn our attention over towards Harvester. Babylons themselves will drop down to the below, grab that R301, and immediately start tracking the horizon on Cybercats, rejoined alongside. But when Cybercats elect to play the fuse on the contest, the knuckle cluster will bring the pain.
This is a very, very hot way to start off World's Edge here for these 2 teams. Vex looking pretty strong. They've been having some really good engagements so far for themselves, but Cybercats don't want to let that POI go. You also had mentioned it over in Tree, Mind and 202 in their contest. A little bit of a back and forth here as 202 looking to get some weapons so they can hopefully deal some damage. Take a little bit of poke, but not pushing anything too crazy at his only performance to match shield.
Not a bad job here. Center will smoke and disengage. We look for a cheekier angle onto Sanka, so we do need to keep that mind going through. Yolu, at one point in time, was the youngest player in EMEA region last year. Years go crazy. Now a little bit more competitive experience, and they're going to seek to disengage towards the building on the outskirts of Tree, and Miskim opens it up, grabs that early knock onto Yolu, giving them the player advantage and allow them a little bit more aggressive because they were able to get that first knock without taking a bit of damage.
This will be a good opportunity here for 202 to clear this out, not only get that KP on the board, but get some nice momentum going to kick off the first match here on World's Edge. They go up to the roof and just melt, trying to clear everybody out here. And it looks like 202 is quite comfortable as they get the last kill. Mine goes down, and 202 own the Tree.
Let me just tell you, they just all won their ones. Every single player from 202 just able to navigate that contest perfectly. So I'm really proud of them to be able to continue on that journey here on World's Edge. For Go Next, they're in second place overall on the day, 32 points. So what?
I hate to interrupt you, but I need you to look at this.
I didn't say Skyhook, did I?
You did.
So hear me out.
You did.
With the way this is split,
concerned.
I'm looking where Forge is. The name is, I can't tell if the rings connect. Now, if the rings connect underneath Forge, that means you have a higher chance of it pulling towards Skyhook. Now, if there was a differentiating between and there was a little bit of a gap, it would bounce back to the other side. But I mean, it's looking Skyhooky.
I need to know what you have done and how to replicate it, because we are going north and teams are going to be making their way up there, starting to try and claim whatever building space they can find and is available. Red Dragon wanting to nail something down, not having to deal with a contest, but having to make a pretty long rotate all the way over from Big Mod, finding themselves a little bit stuck right now. And as these teams start to get that zone information, we're going to see them making some quick moves. I mentioned 07 earlier. They're trying to move past Harvester right now. Cat's not going to be paying attention to them at all, but 07 looking to get in there early.
Look, they need to. They acquired so many points with those back-to-back wins on the last match day showing, but for now, we have to turn the tides too. ANC outplayed and Red Dragon. Fitu already grabbing that opening knock, trying to get the advantage. But Made in Heaven in Skyhook will tune back to Red Dragon, and ANC outplayed in just a moment. But for now, Arctic throwing out the piercing spikes. But the res, you can kind of hear the audio cue, but doubling down, throwing nades to try and fend off. They are able to stick that res.
Made in Heaven, another team that even Kashir got called out for having a really strong performance today. Their slaying power has been on point. Finding themselves here in a little bit of a back and forth to try to hold down their position, getting their shields back up. And honestly, once they lay close to the floor, they should be good for a little bit.
This is one of those buildings that a lot of teams will try to play early on. 2R1C in a battle against Passion here on the other edge. GQ peeking with the 30-30, able to grab a knock, and it looks like they potentially have thrown the bangle to avoid Passion and cover the distance and capitalize off that initial knock. But where there's a will, there's a way, and 0-0 UQ and Denze just full sending.
Passion giving themselves a little bit of lead here as they continue to move through. Still 19 squads up as well. Not the same type of early game action that we saw in our Stormpoint matches. Obviously less contests, but just the nature of World's Edge as their teams are making their way through. Passion should have a little bit of room now to move through Lava Fissure and find themselves on the western side of where this zone is going to be pulling. So they might have found themselves in a safe spot here. Back on board with 07 as well. who look like they have a clear path ahead of them too.
A clear path ahead, but a lot of work to do. Coming in just outside the top 15, they need to gather as many points on World's Edge as they possibly can, but rotating out through Landslide, of course, Cybercat's nearby. Landslide has been spawning a lot of crafters and has been the ideal stop for a lot of teams on their journey to out that kind of mid-game zone playing. So you may make sure you hit the crafter, get your shields up, and they were taking a little bit of pokes towards 07. Gotta hit the beacon, grab that information, but as we see it now, Glitter, gotta get your ideas here, because I've seen the zone pull towards where Element 6 is, to the building to the left. I've seen it kind of end a little bit with the mountains in the way. I've also seen it pull back towards Countdown, kind of that choke area as well, so it could go that route. But no, it looks like we will stick to where Element 6 potentially is.
I was wondering if they were going to get this to go in their favor as well, because bodes really well for both them and LCDF. Being up there already, being able to claim that space super early. We saw how aggressive E6 was being today, though. Nice shot, Nasky, to get some points on the board for E6, but Nasky's coming through with the Kraber in hand, knocks Max straight, and 07 are going to have to try and make an aggressive push here, because now that they've drawn attention to themselves, everyone is looking their way, and they do lose Amphi on the push.
Let me just tell you, the ability here for Passion UA to double down off that initial knock from Nasky onto Max straight. They've already got the res, they threw out the bangle, they grabbed the knock in full, and now 07 will be a duo. But you think back to their prior performance with that Skyhook ending, I believe it was in map 3 for the EMEA broadcast. That was where 07 actually went crazy with some nade plays towards the end game, and they won the Skyhook ending. But coming through, they did grab Amphi's banner, and there is a res just to the outskirts. But mind you, that's where already so many teams were playing. But Nasky has the Moby. Can he get it to come through?
I'm interested to see what they do. Obviously, this is an area that they've done well for themselves before, but as teams continue to rotate in, everyone who's been solidified is waiting to see who's flying in, what buildings are trying to land on. Is there an opportunity for poke damage, especially towards the western side of that zone, because there's a couple teams right on the outskirts that are going to have to move in as it continues to shrink down. You can see just how clustered up everyone is going to become. Still have a few stragglers on the outside as well, and this is where things are going to get dangerous. I was worried that Zero was going to take a little bit of damage. They're actually do okay and manage to claim this rooftop.
Really solid that they were able to get the score themselves, immediately get the pylon down and start fencing it thanks to Zero. Arctic off screen is just doing work on 07 with the Sentinel. Now we start to think about teams, like you mentioned, that are going to be the late arrivers to Skyhook. I'm immediately thinking of Red Dragon, Aurora. Aurora playing off the survey beacon on the outside, that house that usually 99.9% of the time has a survey beacon on it. They'll hit that scan and start moving towards this choke point that Cybercats is in. Now granted, when you're first overall for the day, you've survived your initial harvester contest and you got a ton of what? Anytime I can't. Anytime I see a Kraber shot, I'm just like, what? You hit that? Let's go. Can I see another one, please?
Add some flair. Give me some flair with it too.
Okay, not everyone can be MT from LAN, all right? Not everyone can do that.
It's going to be very reminiscent of what we just saw pushing out of here. Kraber in hand from 07 this time now. Cybercat looking to see if anyone's paying attention to this area or if they can make a safe push across, but obviously those buildings right in front of them mostly occupied at this point. And now checking in with the team you had just mentioned, Tiff, Red Dragon on the edge of this zone, just biding their time right now. They've got Aurora right in front of them, and they'll probably have to at least create a little bit of noise here and see if they can push them out of the way if they want to have a safe push towards that Skyhook area.
Thinking historically, I'm pretty sure Kazakh used to play the Bangalore for the squad, but they've moved it to another player, and typically Kazakh will play with the Rampart weapon longbow. We've made some adjustments here, and honestly, if Red Dragon can hold that position and really fend off Aurora and ESG, they will be able to just walk right into that free side of zone.
They'll have a nice little choke at their disposal. Granted, Passion might be looking low as well, but Red Dragon have called this brilliantly, now putting themselves in a very, very solid spot as far as the zone goes, but will have to fend off ESG, Aurora. You can see ESG making the move, flying over Aurora right now. Where are they going to land? Is it going to be right on top of Red Dragon?
We've got taking a chunk of damage, able to maintain maybe 2 HP left on that shield. Maybe 1 shot away from going down, but for now, they're inside the tunnel. And Aurora knows there'll be 2 squads that they will have to contend with on that rotation. So I'm immediately looking to see, do we have evac towers available? And once that zone hole comes through, and a lot of teams realize they have to move even deeper towards Passion in Skyhook, who took that building mere minutes ago for free via their own evac tower. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, and Batu goes down here. It's just, I don't know what to say about Red Dragon, because they got the mechanics. We just need a little bit of the positioning work here.
You know, and I was just going to say that they actually did a really good job. They pushed in and found themselves a spot on the slow side of the zone, so as long as nobody was going to be rotating towards them immediately, they should have also had time to set up on height and be able to see ESG coming through. Somehow ESG does it mostly unnoticed, and by the time they move in, they've dealt a lot of damage to Red Dragon. They're able to survive a little bit only because teams on the low ground are now looking the way of ESG. But I agree. I feel like that was almost really solid, perfect out of Red Dragon, and it's just Jukes is still down. It's not working out for them.
Jukes essentially threw their life to hit the Radiant transfer for the teammates. It's like the, no, Ron, no, what are you going to do? You're going to sacrifice yourself. That's what Jukes just did. Covered the distance, hit the Radiant transport, and went down in the process. Now Kazakh and Fitu, they have the tower, and this will be in the next zone for them. ESG vying for a position just below them will essentially be relegated to a duo, but the Moby is here, and they should be able to get this off. But the issue with this is they're trying to bring back their Bangalore, right? So you can't just essentially smoke top a tower, hit the res.
Ooh. Alright, well, it looks like Forge want to get in on the action as well. They ended up evac towering over. They dropped down on ESG, clear out the bottom, and now Red Dragon is what's above them as a 2-man. I don't know if they know it's a 2-man, though. But Forge made an aggressive push there. ESG down to just 1 now?
Yeah, Light came back. They lived long enough for the res ship to show up. Now Light is at one solo once again for ESG. Now mind you, they came into map number 4 in 3rd place. So any placement points ESG can conjure up for themselves is going to be vital. But for Forge, back up to the 3 here. After essentially wreaking havoc on the squads around. 18 squads up in round 4. It's what you like to see.
That was a massive play on behalf of Forge. Honestly, they were all the way on the west side of the zone, and evac tower all the way over to the east side to get involved in this fight. Get some KP on the board, and now they can exist here for a little while, waiting for the zone to finish. But we have to remember, Aurora was still outside the zone on that southeastern side. They'll be rotating through towards this sniper tower here in just a short while. So they have to keep their eyes on that choke area, and then, of course, as the zone continues to shrink, everyone that's now gathered is going to have to push back west, and it's just going to get really messy.
Oh, it's gonna get tough. I love that Vex was trying to make a push towards Aurora and rotating through that way, but Aurora just able to hold their spot, and now we'll have a free walk-in with just minimal cover. But we turn our attention to Cybercats trying to make their way over on the Skyhook side. Zanya still has a new fresh Kraber maxed up with that Rampage, but the Knuckle Cluster kind of almost backfires on them a little bit. Anzi outplayed, Go Next goes down, Zanya goes down, and now they have to keep moving straight into Passion UA and 07. 07, who are now a 3-stack. They were able to get the revive onto Amphi and get him back into the match.
Cybercats definitely a tough spot here, going up against UAIM, able to get a knock on Sonya, but then already trades them, and it's just a back and forth. 07 see the opportunity to push in third party, this hopefully clean up some easy KP. They start doing that. UAIM is out, Cybercats down to 2, and Nags is going in for that final push, cleaning up Cybercats, and 07 now own the zone.
202 go down in the distance as well. The Dark Veil for cover for the reset. Very cleanly done. Red Dragon still top of tower. Forge still living underneath, and Aurora just walking freely with a lot of space. Space that will soon disappear as the zone pulls away from tower. But they can play the rocks here and essentially have open season on the squads ahead of them.
Here's that push coming in from Aurora. You see Hardeki and Impulse right on these outskirts, trying to see if they can maybe get an angle on Red Dragon, who definitely has them in their sights. They know Aurora is trying to make their way through. Boy, Rain a little bit farther in on an off angle from the squad, trying to see if maybe there's either a safe way to rotate through or get some damage down on these two teams and kind of force them to start going for a fight here. Bang ult is called in, and that might be the opening that they're looking for.
Woohoo! It is! Jay Savage connects on to Fitu, and Red Dragon will likely meet their makers here as they fall from the lobby. Forge maintaining a good bit of health. We just need to turn our attention towards Aurora because we have to keep moving, but Aurora are safe on their rock. Forge are the ones that are going to have to move just a little. But the real question is inside Skyhook. The layer cake buildings are happening, and 07 need to turn this around, and they are doing just that. With so many eliminations for the squad thus far for this game, sitting on 8, and Nasky with a Craver just waiting to connect.
07 managing to get that roof for free. I don't even know how they made it up there so safely, but they've got themselves a great position. The Craver trying to make something work here in the hands of Nasty as they're keeping their eyes peeled for those teams that are starting to make a move in. Look at Aurora on this roof right now.
Aurora, Hardeki, the Grim Reaper himself, looking for the ultimate high ground. And they just have so much space. 6 eliminations for this squad. Now, granted, it's a completely different story. Think back to their match day 2 where they had 57 points just from Stormpoint. Well, now they've got to do all of their work here on World's Edge, and Noises from Full English just trying to do whatever they can to keep this push from TSM Phoenix alive. TSM Phoenix do eliminate Full English, and back to 07. Just 6 more bullets aimed at Aurora.
Nasty knows that Baron can't get it to connect, but will be keeping Aurora in his crosshairs. TSM Phoenix doing a good job of at least opening up a little bit of space around them right now before they're forced in. But the first team that's going to have to move is going to be LCDF. It'll be interesting to see what they can do with all of this open space. Aurora obviously knows they're there. The cat wall had to go down. They don't have a lot of cover to play with, and Aurora is off the rock onto the roof against 07.
They were forced to push off. They took too much damage in the open on the top. Now, can they hit the regain? All the shield bats come through, and now we're looking at med kits. Fun fact, 1,913 shield bats were used up in the EMEA region until this match day, with Hardeki being the top user of shield bats, and they got to keep on. How they're able to survive here is crazy. Still getting a knock. Bang ult doing work.
We're seeing lots of shield cracks coming through. Players are starting to go down. LCDF looking a little bit low. 07 still managing to hold on to this roof for about a second. E6 is above them, trying to push them off for control. Some beautiful shots with the Bolt coming out of Nasty, trying to do what he can to force E6 away and off of their position right now. E6 does go down, and 07 survive by the skin of their teeth.
My question is, how many nades do 07 have? We've seen this before, and this was their pop-off moment. They have the high ground. Now we need to really focus on this, because how will they approach it? We grab lift up from Nasky, drops down, immediately goes down. Amphi to follow. Max left standing into the top 3. Aurora, who's really cooking and Maiden even though, able to take out 07 and clean up the remnants of Aurora.
Where did Maiden Heaven come from? That was the sneakiest, most patient play. We were watching Aurora fight for their lives. We were watching 07 try to hold down that roof. E6 die. 07 are forced off the roof because the ring is too close. Maiden Heaven, I feel like they were silent assassins in the end there.
Hey, Kashera called them out in the halftime show, said they're playing incredibly well and keep an eye on Made in Heaven, and you can see why. Biding their time, making sure that they play for the win and try to maximize their KP in that end game. It was really tough when you think of being on the high ground. That's usually where you want to be, specifically in an end game. But when that circle starts to collapse and you're forced to essentially jump into the open arms of the squads ahead of you, that can be a little jarring. And I love that 07 kind of broke out to try and make that happen or elongate that so they could rain some nades down. It just really didn't work like it did in the prior match day.
Yeah, I mean, still phenomenal performance across the board. Like we had said, 07 possible team to pick up their performance here today. Now that we've switched on over to World's Edge, I feel like they did exactly that. E6 did well with a zone that was favoring them, so they were able to get some good placement points on the board as well as some of that KP. But Made in Heaven, I feel like they have just really stepped up to the plate. Whether we see them getting 1 point in placement points, but then 10 kills on the board, or now we see them finishing really, really strong. And we found, I mean, they had a decent position coming out of Monument, but still made that work in a building that was very chaotic.
Yeah, but if you think back to the prior match day with groups A and C, Made in Heaven were second overall on the day, just behind Aurora, and they had 27 eliminations, got 55 points, so 07 was right behind them with 3. Regardless, it was a dominant showing, but they need this, because we have to talk about the fact that we said it earlier, you need to be in the top 8. Match days are dwindling. If you can get yourself inside the top 20, well, you get to play in regional finals with an even bigger chance. But for our match 4 results, Made in Heaven, 17 points for that game. Aurora on 20 and 07, 18. You said point sponge earlier, Glitter, but I'm seeing some more.
Sheesh. I mean, that is a strong performance, especially when you take into consideration that Aurora specifically had to fight through so many other teams to even get to that spot on the rock and try and make it through those final fights in the last ring. I mean, they were scrappy to get there. 07 just understood what needed to be done as far as getting where they wanted to position. They had a really solid move to that rooftop. We didn't see how they did it, but they were here to play. And as we move down the rest of these results, I'm sure we'll probably see the points fall off just a bit here because, like you said, a little bit of a point sponge. We did see pop off out of 202 with their engagement, but otherwise there just weren't any more points to go around.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. 202, they got 3 alone just from the contest. Same with Cybercats over at Harvester, so that at least gives them a bit of points. Now, you have to start really thinking about the longevity of it. Cybercats came into map number 4 in first place and were only able to grab 4. So I'd imagine once we tune towards those series results, we might see a couple shakeups here.
All right, well, I think we also have stats from our top 3 teams because they worked some massive performances, and I kind of want to see these numbers broken down individually because, I mean, we saw great Stormpoint games with World's Edge is kicking off pretty strongly as well, too.
Yeah, Grim Reaper himself, 2k damage, breaking it with ease, 5,100 for Aurora. That just goes to show you, as they battled their way in, they did work, and even 07. I honestly thought for a moment there they were going to be able to turn that around and net themselves a victory, but yeah, sure as heck, finding 11 eliminations is just as good. I'd be happy with that.
I mean, they have to be. They have to be. It was a fantastic performance across the board. We'll see how it reflects in our overall series results. Now, Cybercats, obviously a team that's been at the top after our first 3 matches on Stormpoint, but now that performance puts Aurora only 1 point behind them. And once again, they are just so strong when these 2 groups are facing off against each other.
Yeah, I mean, Aurora jumped up from 5th place to 2nd after that map, almost to 1st place. 07 moves from 16th to 9th, still really well. Even Element 6 moves up a couple of places, but it's LCDF that have slipped just 1 towards ANC outplayed. With only 2 matches to go, Glitter. Oh, it's getting close.
I cannot wait to see how the rest of our matches play out. Before we get into match number 5, though, we're going to take a short break, give everybody a little bit of an opportunity to reset. When we return, more World's Edge actions. We're going to the ALG.
Yeah.
Match day 5, but only 2 more matches to go for our EMEA region here. I'm SpiderTip back alongside Zephyr, and we're going to be calling all the action for the final 2 matches. Zephyr, I am no longer predicting any more ring pulls, so I'm curious to hear where you think this next match is going to go.
You know what? I don't have the same kind of voodoo you do, but it'd be nice to go down to Thermal Station because I feel like it is a lackluster pull that we have not gotten in a long time. And it feels like 2 years ago, that was all we ever talked about.
I do really love ending at Thermal Station, so we can only hope that they will pull and 2R1C is backing behind you as that is their drop spot. But the history of our day goes to CyberCat. Go next, LCDF, Made in Heaven. All different winners throughout our match series here, but 2 matches to go, and will we get a repeat? Or who will reign supreme now that Cats and Aurora are 1 point apart at the top of the leaderboard?
Some fun statistics off the back end of that last game. I know we talked about 5k damage from Aurora off of it, but that 5k makes up half of the total damage that they've done since 10k.
That's actually crazy. That is crazy. What's even crazier is Mandy's still locking in the Pathfinder, clearly getting ready for Season 20 changes. But for now, we set our sights on our final 2 matches. The Apex Games Museum, the free cam shot. And also, I'm a little jealous. We have the Apex Asia Festival at the end of this month. They have pop-ups such as the store with the museum, a lot of heirlooms. And I'm here in the US and jealous. But for Vex, they're in Harvester with CyberCats.
I don't think they'll be too jealous of 99 found in their hands. It might not be a physical one, but for Clemmy, it's one that can do some work here. Able to get some nice free on the other side. You can start to find those cracks and a knock onto ranches.
Sure. Turn those tides over there. Zanya and Alonzi kind of backing up. Get together. Strength in numbers. Power of friendship, as any anime arc would say. Even the Radiant transfer through walls and a grav lift to get back into the fray.
Nice recovery there. We'll see if the push comes through now, following suit with heightened play. Pushing off that Radiant transfer, one of the best in terms of 50-50s. And Alonzi and Zanya, well, they've already made for the escape here, knowing that was coming out in response.
Checking in with Mind and 202, it's Dolgaran last standing on the conduit as opposed to Bloodhound, and honestly back to the lobby as 202 wins another bout here at Tree. I think they found out about Tech's eviction notices in NA and is trying to serve some here in EMEA.
They're a lot more aggressive about it. They don't share words, they just arrive. For CyberCats, though, I'm curious where they'll be arriving when we talk about Zanya able to find good rotation in the sky. Alonzi, Cat's Claw on the ground. We'll see if he can find some sort of safety. Getting into the valley there is going to be enough. And Vex, yeah, giving that one away. And I was going to say, okay, that is 202 with the revive.
Yeah, I was going to say, Cats have 9 lives, and so far, we've just lost 1 in the form of ranches, so we got to get it back.
Yeah, that would be like 4 revives if you had to really count it out. Maybe even 5, I think.
Good thing it's not 3 strikes here. Good thing.
I would personally love to see that, but I know it won't be happening, at least in the ALGS. But we'll see where these teams now set themselves up for our end game. It's not quite Thermal Station, but it is south. In fact, this one a little bit of a mixed kind of ending here. I will note that without Big Mod and Stack showing a lot of presence here, this still kind of retains teams having to still focus on keeping control of that western bridge here. You can't lay all of your bets in on the other side of the cliff.
This is going to be tough, because do you remember when we had essentially RKN on the desk talking about geyser zones in particular being one of the least favored type of pulls from any team because of the ability to pull back towards Siphon, 2 choke, 2K Swinny on the ground trying to rotate, slap and crack though. What can you do against Forge, especially when you got the former teammate of Slayers over there?
Swinny down here, but you know he's calling from above. Might be able to find. It is still incredibly early for the remnants of this roster to put themselves back together, similarly to what we were seeing out of 202 there, but they're gonna have to make it quick. When we talk about zones like this, right, it does come into kind of being there to deliver, right? You can put your way into a lot of other circles here with teams showing heavy presence towards the geyser and towards the south. Those chokes can be incredibly punishing to work your way into late.
That's a good calm. Red Dragon, they land big mod. No ring console for them over there, just a survey beacon. So they immediately loot, hit the rotation towards Crafter at Geyser, get the ring console at Geyser, and now see they have to move after the crafting rotation. But for Made in Heaven, who have been having an absolute stellar day, have hit their rotation just on the inside of the tunnel, where they'll get all the audio information that a squad is there.
Really good for them as 07, we've seen them cook things up in Skyhook previously, but this is a fight that they need to remedy here. Nasky already low, able to stick the bat. Amphi playing double duty, checking both sides, and an EMP, which I can only assume is in the hands of 2R1C.
Makes sense. Although we were talking the crypto changes with CORSAIR earlier, the larger EMP, the auto scans, I'm gonna have some flashcards out before our next match day, trying to memorize every single perk and perk ability, the trees. It's gonna be glorious, let me just tell you.
Yeah, we'll see what cooks up here as we kind of reintroduce Season 20. I'm starting to lean a little bit more towards the zone play against Watson. That's my early pickup in terms of the meta. We'll see how these teams fare.
Watson meta 202 cracked. Miscom falling incredibly low, but a perfectly timed conduit tactical from Maraka, and it allows so much success here throughout this fight and being able to keep that uptime, as you would say. We just need one more member of Vex to fall, and just like that, 202 hits the reset, but not before other teams decide to make a presence known.
And just as good as that fight starts there, it wasn't entirely clean. Electrifying Steel from a distance with Blast, able to ream and beam with the Havoc from afar here and take advantage now of a full wealth of 6 boxes of loot before they make the rotation. One, that's not even that far.
Dream and Beam. It is the season of the energy weapons, the Havoc, the most used AR in terms for eliminations, not playtime. I know, it's a little crazy. Flatline gets more, but more eliminations go the way of the Havoc. But for ESG, good job on fending off 2R1C and forcing them to go back through the choke and rotate towards Siphon. I'm curious to see what the rotation for ESG will look like. Light does have an evac tower. Curious to see how it goes.
Something to note about that rotation is it does reveal we've got 2 cryptos in the lobby. 2R1C being in the presence, coming out of slower rotate out of Thermal, leads me to believe that it's like TSM Phoenix who are potentially hosting that pickup on the other side of what we saw from 07 earlier on. So potentially watch out for that double EMPs later. As we take a look at the zone, it is going to centralize deep on that bridge. I really like the position of teams like the Full English, Made in Heaven, and ANC, who are posturing for what will be that eastern rotation back in the zone as things tighten up.
It is going to be interesting. Red Dragon do make their way out of Geyser after crafting, returning home to Big Mod. 2R1C still on that rotation towards Lava Siphon and pick up the remnants of Zanya as Cybercats fall, which is going to open the door for the rest of the squads, such as Aurora trying to get to the top of the leaderboard.
Really solid there, unable to put themselves back together, instead find themselves in pieces. A puzzle that will only remain in Game 6 here for 2R1C. This is probably one of the slowest rotations we've ever seen from them, even in games where they do have to extend the extra mile in terms of POIs. Something about Thermal has delayed them here. Now granted, on the opposite side of Lava Siphon is still very much playable, but competing for one of those edge buildings outwards towards the east can be difficult once already claimed.
Scan does not connect for anyone, and they make their way through tunnel towards Geyser. As we get a rogue 40% worse, kind of just onto the outsides, closer towards Overlook at this point. But as we get a little sky cam here of Lava Siphon, 07, their home, and Passion at the nearby distance, hitting the evac tower for the late game rotation, very similar to what we had witnessed in match number 4 as they found a nice position in Skyhook. But the building they have outlined, I am just not a fan of playing playing it 0-0 though. Times it perfectly, hits the geyser, and just keeps on moving because it's gonna save them. His blast is like, I've got a 30-30, I've got the mid-range distance, and if you don't keep going, I will take you down.
The timing is literally perfect there, but it doesn't leave much of an answer for further moves. It's survivability in the heat of needing a space to play. For Passion, they still have yet to find themselves a heavy answer deeper into the zone where they actually need to be there.
TSM Phoenix playing the house, which makes sense for them, as you'll typically see a Watson team set up there. And for Made in Heaven, the fence is kind of outlining the choke between Geyser and Big Mod. A lot of space being held by Red Dragon, and you're essentially sending Kazakh and Fitu up to 2v3. But Made in Heaven is not full HP. Arctic needs 5 seconds to get that shield ban off, but Tax allows that to go through with just a couple of clean shots, doing enough damage, getting the shield crack onto Kazakh and forcing them back to Big Mod.
It's great cover here, but it still doesn't answer the question of what lays out from behind. Guys who are still in full presence is an issue that Made in Heaven will have alongside of anything they need on Big Mod. And while I know they can take the fights at Big Mod, they've shown their prowess today. Being pinched in any situation will never come up on top. That's why they're extending this rotation from Arctis and Senec. They want to make sure that if they leave this place and this real estate, that they're doing it as a solo roster.
Just playing in this choke is allowing them to pressure to every squad in the distance and overlooking Geyser. But as that
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yep. There it is. Full English. You've got to play out from the east here. That height off a bridge is nasty.
You know, I am not surprised with any of our zone pulls at this point in time, and Aurora able to try and hold this zone by just barely being in it. They can choose which choke they want to go through, and ESG have positioned themselves in the death house. I have just claimed this building as not a solid position, because anytime you rotate out of this, you typically get caught out.
Well, for ESG, they survived for now, and you're right. Getting up to the height that sets itself ahead is a challenge for them. Surprisingly, though, you don't see this often. Contests in Siphon itself in the midst of pre-rotation here. LCDF do a great job defending against that, and Nizadan will be able to sustain batteries back here for potentially full swings.
No Digi on the R9 for Psychop here. That's going to be unfortunate because you just need it. And you don't want to just essentially shoot blindly. No Digi for Zidane either, but a grab rip to block and isolate the door, making sure they cannot push in to R1C. They do sustain a little bit of shield damage, but so far, they're still relatively healthy. Gives LCDF the opportunity to completely reposition themselves and focus on the task at hand and the rotate into next zone.
It doesn't change, though, the blockade that is 2R1C. The slide down from height comes just as quickly. And for LCDF, they need a different answer to the move ahead. Building across, still well within play here. And 2R1C might be capitalizing on what they needed to do most. For ESG, I mean, they're making the most of death building.
I mean, death at their hands as Passion UA rotates in, and Hardeki themselves even able to grab some of those eliminations from a distance, trying to take space on the outside. Now, that is a building that we typically see Aurora rotate through, but ESG, they got here first.
Good moves early, and now from behind, looking to clean things up. They're going to be one of these Soul Ring Southern squads. I worry, though, we've brought this up multiple times, that height over on edge. They have no answer to it yet here, and we know for teams like Aurora, who laid down those shots earlier, they're just itching for their moment to capitalize.
I also really love where Forge has positioned themselves kind of on the top buildings, just on the outskirts of Lava Siphon through the cluster. But for Made in Heaven, they've made waves thus far in map number 5. Let's jump into a listen in and see how they're going to tackle this.
Oh, they're not playing close, they're not playing close.
Come back a bit. Please don't play that far.
I'm looking.
So what do you say with me?
Guys are just playing this side. We have so much space now.
Yes, sir.
Pick 9. It's the box team, bro.
One got in front of us.
Yeah, chill.
60 on one. One's left.
50 on one.
We need to chill the fuck out.
It's bad.
Push on close.
I need to wait for fucking fuse ulti.
Up.
Peeking.
Horizon 1!
Yeah, Vanguard. It's done.
Nice.
I'm doing it.
All you Arctic, I'm putting up.
Get shot.
Ah, I got shot in the back, man.
We need to go,
Yeah, have a look.
Lock fine here.
AP, can you come down?
How about that here? Swing.
On track.
I got it off. The shield.
Left!
Yeah, you have to.